All right, everyone, good evening and welcome back to Gurong Pinoy. We are live tonight with our General Science 16. If you see carbon 14, what do you know is true? Is it letter A? It is an isotope. Letter B, there are 14 carbon atoms. Letter C, it is an ion. Or letter D, all answers are correct. What is your choice for number 16? Number 16. Which one is the correct choice for number 16? Okay, 16, there's A, there's D. Ano kaya yung tamang choice for number 16? Okay, karamihang sagot ninyo ay letter D. Aba, nung nakakita ng all answers are correct, yun na yung choose nyo ha. Yun na yung pinili. Okay, nag-play safe kayo. All answers are correct. Okay, if you see carbon-14, okay, or carbon 14, what do you know is true? The correct choice here is letter A. It is an isotope. Isotope po yung carbon-14. 14 there actually stands for its atomic mass. Okay, so atomic mass niya yan, no? Yung mass niya, average, or your atomic mass ng inyong carbon. So that means it is an isotope. Let's take a look at your next slide. Okay, now when you say isotopes, these are these are elements with the same number of protons but different number of neutrons, and so their atomic mass would be different. Okay, so atomic mass nila would be different. So say you have these 2 or 3 different types of atoms, pare-parehas po yung number of protons nila, no? Pare-parehas yung number of protons. Pero iba yung number of neutrons nila. Remember your 3 subatomic particles, you have the protons, the neutrons, and the electrons. Yung protons mo is positively charged, your neutrons are neutral, while your electrons, which can be found in your electron cloud, are negatively charged. Now, if you are looking at these different types of isotopes for hydrogen, lahat sila hydrogen. Okay, but this one is called hydrogen 1. So hydrogen-1 ito. This one, your deuterium, would be hydrogen-2. And this one would be your tritium. I know, sorry. Hydrogen 0 pala to. Wala siyang neutron. Wala siyang neutron dito. And so again, pare-parehas po yung number of protons nila. Number of protons would still be 1, 1, 1. Dito, yung number of neutrons niya 0. Dito, for your deuterium, the number of neutrons would be 1. And tritium would be, number of neutrons would be 2. Kaya siya naging 3 dito because your atomic mass is number of protons plus number of neutrons. So 1 plus 2 would be 3. Okay, dito hydrogen with atomic mass of 2 siya because that's 1 proton plus 1 neutron. Okay, so this would be hydrogen 2. Hydrogen 1, and hydrogen 3. Okay, so again, if you are looking at your carbon 14, that means it is an isotope. So iba-iba yung magiging numbers nila based on the number of neutrons that they have, because when you say isotopes again, these are elements with the same number of protons but different number of neutrons. Okay, so letter A po yung ating choice. Letter A yung ating choice for number 16. 17. What do you look at in the periodic table to determine the number of valence electrons possessed by an element? Is it letter A, the element's atomic mass, letter B, the element's row number, letter C, the element's group number, or letter D, the element's atomic number? Ayun, mali daw kasi palaging absent. Chemistry teacher namin nung high school. Pina-memorize, walang explain, ganon. Nakakainis pag gano'n, no? Okay, what do you think is the correct choice for number 17? Okay, number 17. All right, letter D, the element's atomic number. My C. Nakalimutan nyo na to. Meron na tayong mga items about this before, no? So, maaaring nakalimutan nyo na. Okay, what do you look at in the periodic table to determine the number of valence electrons possessed by an element? And the correct choice that we have here, ayan, Facebook user, sabi ni Facebook user, C, copy-copy na lang to. Okay, the correct choice here is letter C. Tama ang pagkopya ni sir, no? Or ni ma'am. Okay, so tama. It's the elements group number. Okay, so that's the, if you are looking at, or if you are looking for the elements valence electrons, you should be looking at its group number. So letter C po ang ating hinahanap. If you are looking at your periodic table of elements, makinig po. This is your periodic table of elements, of course, as given to us, no, who is known as the father of the modern periodic table is Dmitry Mendeleev. No? Dmitry Mendeleev, he is a Russian chemist. Now, there are several ways through which your elements are placed, are arranged in your periodic table. Now, unang-una, meron kong tinatawag na groups or family. Okay, so yung groups or family mo, these are the columns in your periodic table. So ito, isang group yan sila, no? Isang group sila. Although hydrogen is not really a part of this group. Nilagay lang dyan si hydrogen because of its atomic number. So isang group itong lithium, sodium, potassium, etc. Okay, so this is group 1A. And then you have group 2A, beryllium group, no? Kung walang group sa inyong choice, tinatawag din po silang family. Okay, so yung column mo, that's group or family. Then you have group 3A dito, boron, aluminum, and so on. You have group 4A, carbon, silicon, germanium, and so on. You have group 5A, your nitrogen, phosphorus, and so on. Group 6, yung oxygen group mo, oxygen family. Fluorine mo, chlorine, bromine, iodine, and so on. These are your halogens. And group 7A yung tawag sa kanila. And of course, you have group 8A, which are your noble gases. Okay, your noble gases mo. So again, group 1, 2, then you have 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. These are your A groups, no? Tinatawag silang A groups because they follow periodic trends. That means sometimes you can easily tell what will happen, or you can pinpoint what will happen to these types of elements because of their locations in your periodic table. Now here at the center, you have what you call your transition metals. Transition metals to, yung block dito na nasa center, or sometimes we call these the B groups. Okay, so B groups sila. They are very special and they are called transition metals nga dahil they do not easily follow the periodic trend. So, kunwari dito, from hydrogen to helium, from lithium until neon, nag-i-increase, for example, yung boiling points. Dito, pa iba-iba. Okay, so iba-iba yung trends nila. So hindi sila nag-generalize, no? They do not follow periodic trends. And so we just call this the B groups. So again, this is group 1A, 2A, 3A, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Now, for you to know the number of valence electrons of the atom, especially if the element belongs to an A group, you just look at the group number. So, yung valence electrons mo kasi are very special types of electrons because these are the electrons found in the outermost shell of the atom. And so these are the electrons that are involved in bonding. Ito yung mga electrons na lumilipat-lipat, tina-transfer, nagmo-move, or di naman kaya if you are trying to form a covalent bond, these are the electrons that are shared. Okay? So, pag group 1A siya, say dito, no? So, again, as mentioned, hindi po parte yung hydrogen mo sa group 1A. Pero if you are trying to count the number of valence electrons ng hydrogen mo, isa lang din ang kanyang valence electron along with lithium, sodium, potassium, etc. So isa lamang po yung kanilang valence electrons. If your element belongs to group 2A, dalawa yung kanilang valence electrons. Pag group 3A siya, tatlo yung valence electrons. Pag group 4A, apat, and so on. Okay, so say if I am going to ask you the number of valence electrons, ilang valence electrons meron yung, say, magnesium? Ilang valence electrons meron yung magnesium? What's your answer? Ilang valence electrons meron yung magnesium? Just put that in your chat box. Again, the question is, ilan yung valence electrons ng magnesium? Ayan, si Ma'am Malaika Sulaiman, kakatapos lang na manood ng video sa math major. Ngayon, science naman, dugo-dugo na ilong ko. Okay lang po yan. Okay, so 2. Tama yung 2, no? Since it belongs to group 2A, dalawa yung valence electrons niya. Say, I ask you for the valence electrons of oxygen. Ilan yung valence electrons ng oxygen mo? Oxygen mo. Ilan yung valence electrons ng oxygen? Anyone? Put that in your comment box. Ilan po yung valence electrons ng oxygen natin? Oh, okay. Karamihang sagot ay 6, and 6 is a correct answer, no? So 6 po dahil this is group 1A, 2, then 3, 4, 5, 6. And so, oxygen would have 6 valence electrons. So, tama yung 6, no? 7 and 8. So, depende po sa group number yung valence electrons, not including your transition elements. Iba-iba kasi yung valence nila, no? Valence electrons nila. Pa-iba-iba, meron sa kanilang dalawa yung valence electrons. So, again, di natin siya sinasama, no? If we are looking at your periodic trends. Now, again, that's your column, your family, or your group. Okay, so your valence electrons would depend on your family or your group number. Now, meron din tayong tinatawag na period. No? Meron din arrangement. Yung periodic table mo, makinig, na tinatawag nating period. So, yung periods naman, if your family or your group are the columns, ang period mo naman would be the rows. Okay, so this is period 1. Yung period 1 mo ay hydrogen and helium lamang, yung kanyang member. You have period 2, lithium, beryllium, boron, carbon, nitrogen, etc. You have period 3, sodium, magnesium, aluminum, silicon, etc. You have period 4, potassium, calcium, etc. Okay, so pag ganyan, period naman yung tawag. Okay, so we have 7 periods total in your periodic table. This is period 1, period 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Now, yung pagkakaiba naman sa inyong group at period, kung ang group mo would give us the number of valence electrons of your atom or of your element, your period, on the other hand, would give us the number of energy shells. Yung tinatawag na electron cloud, no? Yung energy shell na nakapalibot sa inyong atom, your period would give us that. So say if you have hydrogen, and if you will be asked for the number of energy shells or electron cloud in your hydrogen, your answer would be 1 because hydrogen belongs to period 1. If you will be asked for, say, potassium right here, no? And potassium belongs to 1, 2, 3, 4, period 4. That means potassium has 4 energy shells or 4 electron cloud. If you are asked for cesium, for example, cesium here belongs to period 6. That means cesium has 6 energy clouds or 6 energy shells or electron clouds. Say, I'd ask you for the energy shell of sulfur. Ilan yung energy shell ng sulfur mo? Ilan yung energy shell ng sulfur natin? What will be your answer? If you will be asked for the number of energy shells for sulfur, how many energy shells do we have for sulfur? Okay, three. Tama yung three, no? Because sulfur belongs to period 3. So from here, period 1, 2, and 3. Sulfur belongs to period 3. And so sulfur is expected to have 3 energy shells or 3 electron cloud. Okay, pahirapan pa natin, ha? Mas pahirapan pa natin. Last question for this. Give me the valence electrons and energy shell for aluminum. Okay, also pronounced aluminium. Pwede din aluminium, no? Or aluminum. How many valence electrons and how many energy shells for aluminum? Okay, so you should have both answers, valence and energy shell. Ilang energy shell, ilang valence electrons for aluminum. Okay, 3 and 3. 3, 2. 3 both. Valence 3, energy, ang sabi ni Facebook user, energy shells 3. 3, 3. Okay. Okay, so valence electrons for aluminum, again, that would be dependent on the group number. This is group 1, group 2, group 3A, and so aluminum would have 3 valence electrons, tama? And it also belongs to period 3, 1, 2, 3. So 1, 2, 3. And so that means aluminum would have period or would have 3 energy shells. Okay, so tama yung 3, 3. Okay, so klaro na tayo doon. So again, number of valence electrons would be dependent on the group number and energy shells would be dependent on the period number. Facebook user, again, yung energy shells nyo po ay depende sa period number. So this is period 1. Pahalang po siya, yung row po. Across siya, yung arrangement from left to right, that's a period. So period 1 mo would only be hydrogen and helium. Period 2 would be lithium until neon. Period 3 is sodium until argon. Okay? Period 4 is potassium until krypton. Okay? So again, your energy shell would depend on your period number. Valence electrons would depend on your group number. Okay? Group number. All right, we move on. Number 18, choose the correctly balanced equation for the following reaction. You have potassium plus water, giving you potassium hydroxide plus hydrogen gas. What's the answer? Okay, what do you think is the correct choice for number 18? Number 18 na po tayo. Number 18. Okay, 18D, B, D. Karamihang sagot nyo ay letter D. Okay, so for number 18 here, we are looking for the balance equation for the following reaction. Okay, so we have potassium, water, giving us potassium hydroxide and hydrogen gas. Okay, so let's take a look at your different equations here. Makinig. So unang-una hanapin natin yung potassium, no? Dapat potassium yung una nating reactant. So this is potassium, 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 potassium. Okay lang. Yung second reactant mo is water. So water din naman to, water to, water to, water to. Okay, so walang difference, no? Walang difference. Po pwede. Lahat ng choices natin po pwede pa sa ngayon. Now, the first product that you have is potassium hydroxide, KOH, no? KOH. So this is KOH. This is just K, so ligwak na itong letter B. Okay, so hindi na po pwede yung letter B because this is not potassium hydroxide. This is just potassium. Okay, so letter B is ligwakers. Now, this one is potassium hydroxide. Po pwede pa siya. This one is also potassium hydroxide. So, A, C, D, posible pang maging answer natin. Number, last product natin is hydrogen gas. This is hydrogen gas. Your gas usually would have a subscript of 2. Okay, so diatomic yung inyong hydrogen gas. And so this is correct. This is correct. Ligwak na ito. Okay, this is not hydrogen gas. This is just an atom of hydrogen. So B and D cannot be the correct answer anymore. So ito na lamang dalawa yung ating i-consider, but the correct choice here is letter C. Tama yung letter C. Okay, so itong dalawa, again, B and D are ligwak because hindi ito potassium hydroxide. No? Hindi siya potassium hydroxide. Ito namang huli mo sa letter D is not hydrogen gas. Okay? But here, bakit C ang ating sagot at hindi letter A? Again, when you say balanced chemical equation, dapat parehas yung number of atoms mo at both sides of your equation, at the reactant side and also at the product side. So looking at your letter C mo dito, first one, sa reactant mo, you have potassium, K, you have hydrogen, and oxygen. Okay? So, sa potassium mo, you have 2 times 1. Okay? So, 2 times 1 siya, no? So, this has a subscript of 1. Pag walang nakasulat na number, that is understood to be 1. So, imo-multiply mo itong iyong coefficient with the subscript. Okay? So, that's 2 times 1. So, we have 2 atoms of potassium. Now, going to the other side of your equation, sa product side mo, you have 2 times 1 for potassium. So, balance sila, no? 2 and 2. Now, hydrogen. For hydrogen here, you have 2 times 2, giving you 4. Okay? So, bakit 4? You have 2 times 2. That's 4. And hydrogen, on this side here, you have 2 times 1, which is 2, plus you have a plus sign, plus 1 times 2. So 1 times 2 is also 2. That's 2 plus 2, giving you 4 also. Okay, so 4 din siya. And so, balance pa rin yung hydrogen niya. Now, as for the oxygen, this would be 2 times 1. Okay, dinidistribute mo kasi itong iyong coefficient. So 2 times 1, that's 2. At the other side, that's 2 times 1 also. So that's also 2. And so C is balanced. Okay? See, here is balanced. Yung dito yung letter A mo, potassium niya 1, 1, tama. Hydrogen niya is 4, that's 2 times 2. At the other side, tatlo lamang yung hydrogen mo. Okay? That's 1 times 2, giving you 2, plus 1. Okay? So, mali. Hindi siya balanced. Ayan, may math pa rin. Okay? Tama yan, Sir Aladdin. Alright, so letter C po ang ating choice for number 18. We move on. If we know that manganese dioxide is a catalyst in the decomposition of hydrogen peroxide, then how does manganese dioxide affect this reaction? Is it letter A? It lowers the activation energy required for the decomposition to proceed. Letter B, it changes the decomposition from exothermic to endothermic. Letter C, it makes the decomposition happen without any activation energy. Or letter D, it raises the activation energy required for the decomposition to proceed. Excuse me, what do you think is the correct choice for number 19? Mag-chat lang ako dito. Sa isang chat box. Nag-chat sila. Hindi yata nila alam na may live. Okay, letter may B, may D. Mukhang marami na namang ligwak, no? Sa ating number 19. Okay, going back to number 19, if we know that manganese dioxide is a catalyst in the decomposition of hydrogen peroxide, then how does manganese dioxide affect this reaction? Okay, and the correct choice is letter A. It lowers the activation energy required for the decomposition to proceed. Okay, let's take a look at your slide. So again, yung term mo dito ay lowers. It lowers the activation energy. When you say catalyst, this is a substance that changes the rate of a chemical reaction without being consumed in the reaction itself. Okay, so yung catalyst mo, it changes the rate of a chemical reaction. Mas pinapabilis niya yung chemical reaction without being consumed in the reaction. Hindi siya ginagamit, pero it changes the speed of your chemical reaction. Now, when you say, this one would show you the activation energy. Pag sinabi mo kasing activation energy, it is the amount of energy that you need so that a chemical reaction may happen. Para mangyari yung isang chemical reaction, dapat may activation energy kang tinatawag. Now here, yung graph nyo, pag walang catalyst, ito yung amount of activation energy that you need so that the reaction would happen. Okay, so mas malaki yung requirement of activation energy that you need if there is no catalyst. Pero pag meron namang catalyst, it lowers the activation energy. Okay? So that's the action of your catalyst, your enzymes, no? Kunwari yung enzymes mo. They lower the activation energy. And so letter A is the correct choice. Ayan, sabi ko na si President, di ko alam na may live po. Nagchat-chat siya, meron silang chat doon sa Gurong Pinoy Let Online group. Okay, hindi alam ni Press na merong live. Okay, so again, letter A po yung ating hinahanap. No? It lowers the activation energy required for the decomposition to proceed. That's the action of your catalyst, the action of your enzymes. Okay, so letter A. Number 20, if you double the force on an object but the distance remains the same, how much work is done on that object? Letter A, the amount of work stays the same. Letter B, 2 times as much. Letter C, 1/4 as much work. Or letter D, 4 times as much work. Nakakadugo ng internal organ. Okay lang po yan. Okay, which one do you think is the correct choice for number 20? Hindi pa tayo nakaka-halfway. Medyo mahaba-haba yung ating chika ngayon. Okay, number 20, ano kaya yung tamang sagot for number 20? Bigay ko na po yung ating sagot, no? It would be letter B, 2 times as much. Now, work is calculated by multiplying force times distance. Okay, so work po ay force times distance lamang. And force, of course, the unit for force is Newton, while the unit for distance is meter. And when you multiply Newton meter, you'll get a unit which we call joule. Okay, so joule is Newton meter siya, and that's the unit for work. Now, going back to the item that you have, if you double the force, but the distance remains the same, how much work is done on that object? We say twice as much because work is directly proportional to your force. So if you double any of this, kung dinoble mo yung force mo or dinoble mo yung distance mo, your work would also be doubled. Okay, so directly proportional lang siya. And so letter B, 2 times as much yung ating tamang choice. We move on, 21. What do both prokaryotes and eukaryotes have that is involved in translation? Letter A, endoplasmic reticulum. Letter B, ribosomes. Letter C, nucleus. Letter D, peptidoglycan. What's the choice for 21? Number 21, what do both prokaryotes and eukaryotes have that is involved in translation? Okay, ano kaya yung tamang choice for number 21? Number 21, what's the correct choice? I see B's for number 21. Okay, and letter B here is the correct choice. Tama yung letter B, no? Ribosomes, because these are, of course, the organelles that are involved in translation. Tingnan natin yung inyong slide. Now, remember your prokaryotes and eukaryotes, this Venn diagram here, would show us a difference between your prokaryotes and eukaryotes. So pareho silang types of cells, pareho silang may cell membrane, pareho din silang may ribosomes. Again, your ribosomes are the ones that are involved in translation. Translation is the process of making proteins. Okay? So paggawa ng proteins, that would be translation. Tinatawag natin siyang translation. And ribosomes are your organelles that are involved in translation. Now, yung pagkakaiba lamang ng inyong prokaryotes and eukaryotes, yung prokaryotes mo, wala siyang nucleus. Okay? So, wala siyang nucleus. Yung eukaryotes mo, on the other hand, would have nucleus. Yung nucleus mo would contain the linear DNA of your eukaryotic cell. Now, sa case ng prokaryotes mo, since wala siyang nucleus, your circular DNA is just found in a region in your cytoplasm which we call nucleoid. Okay? Nucleoid region, yung part ng cytoplasm kung saan mo makikita yung DNA ng inyong prokaryotic cell. Okay? And of course, your prokaryotes do not have the tiny structures inside which we call the organelles. No, eukaryotes lamang yung may organelles. So again, if you are looking at the differences between your prokaryotes and eukaryotes, prokaryotes, wala siyang nucleus, wala siyang organelles. Eukaryotes, meron siyang nucleus, meron siyang organelles. Pero parehas silang may cell membrane, parehas silang may ribosomes. And ribosomes po yung hinahanap natin in the question that we had a while ago. Both prokaryotes and eukaryotes have it, and it is involved in translation. Okay, I will not be discussing this for right now dahil meron tayong question in the next slides, no? All right, number 22, ito. These organelles contain enzymes that help digest food and cell debris. Is it letter A, ribosomes, letter B, endoplasmic reticulum, letter C, lysosomes, or letter D, Golgi bodies? Okay, which one do you think is the correct choice? Okay, number 22, C. Nakikita ko letter C. Okay, letter C, letter C. Aba, letter C, pretty sure, ha? And letter C is the correct choice here. Okay, so lysosomes po, yung ating hinahanap, no? It contains enzymes that help digest food and cell debris. Let's take a look at your cell. Okay, so this right here, makinig na. This is your generalized cell, no? Now, your cell has different parts at meron ng iba-ibang organelles. Mag-start tayo with your cell membrane. So this right here is the cell membrane. Yung cell membrane mo, siya yung pinaka-boundary ng inyong cell, no? Cell membrane or plasma membrane, that is the boundary of the cell that controls the entry and exit of substances into or outside of the cell. Now, inside the cell, you have a gel-like substance that includes or that holds the rest of the organelles inside. And you call that gel-like substance the cytoplasm. Okay, cytoplasm of the cell. Okay, so cytoplasm of the cell, that's the gel-like substance inside the cell that holds the rest of your organelles. Now, yung pinakang unang-unang organelle dito that we are going to discuss would be your nucleus. Ito yung nucleus mo, no? Usually in your animal cell, your nucleus will be very big. It's a big spherical body. It is very important because it acts as the brain of the cell. It acts as the brain of the cell. It controls what happens inside the cell. It also holds or it also contains the genetic material in the cell. Okay, so your DNA, your genes can be found in the nucleus. Aside from that, your nucleus would also hold the nucleolus. Yung nucleolus mo, meron siyang spherical body, meron pang maliliit na circles dito, no, na dots inside your nucleus. And again, you call that your nucleolus. Your nucleolus are very important too because they make ribosomes. Okay? Yung function ng inyong nucleolus is to make ribosomes. Now, your ribosomes, on the other hand, ito yung ribosomes mo, itong mga tuldok-tuldok na yan, ito yung inyong ribosomes. Ito yung nasa question natin kanina, no? Yung function niya is for translation or the making of proteins. Okay, so these are ribosomes that we have. Some of your ribosomes can be freely floating in your cytoplasm. We call them your free ribosomes, while other ribosomes can be attached to your Golgi. Okay, so merong, not Golgi, sorry, to your endoplasmic reticulum. Merong ibang ribosomes that are attached to your endoplasmic reticulum. So again, yung purpose ng inyong ribosome is for making of proteins, or what we call translation. The process is called translation. Now, going outside of the nucleus, you have these stacks of membranes. We call this your endoplasmic reticulum. Endoplasmic reticulum to, para siyang channels, no? As you can see, your endoplasmic reticulum is attached to your nucleus, because this is the entryway, the passageway of materials in and out of the nucleus. Okay, so that's your endoplasmic reticulum. Now, you have two types of your endoplasmic reticulum. Po pwedeng rough endoplasmic reticulum, or sometimes we call this rough ER or RER, and you also have your smooth endoplasmic reticulum, or SER. Now, yung pagkakaiba nila, unang-una, yung rough ER mo would have ribosomes. Kaya siya rough ER dahil pag tinignan mo siya under the microscope, it would appear rough. Okay, para siyang rough under the microscope because of the presence of your ribosomes. Now, since it has ribosomes, its function is also the same as your ribosomes. It makes proteins. Okay, so that's your rough ER. It has ribosomes. It makes proteins. Now, your smooth ER, on the other hand, it has no ribosomes. So, wala siyang ribosomes, and so it appears smooth under your microscope. Its function is for the making of the lipids, making of your phospholipids, and also for detoxification. Okay, so nag-aalis siya ng toxin sa inyong cell. So again, your smooth ER does not have any ribosomes. It makes lipids, and it detoxifies the cell. Okay, so again, that's your nucleus, your nucleolus, the ribosomes, the rough ER, and the smooth ER. Okay, now next, this one right here is your Golgi apparatus. Okay, in some other sources, it will be called Golgi body. It would also be called Golgi complex. Okay, so Golgi apparatus siya. This is the packaging section of the cell. Okay, so if there are any products inside the cell that needs to be, may products that need to be modified, that needs to be packaged, that needs to be sorted, it would be the function, it would be the purpose, it would be the work of your Golgi apparatus. Now, as you can see, there are tiny structures here. Ito mga spherical structures from your Golgi apparatus. Ito yung tinatawag nating vesicles. Okay? So, ito yung tinatawag nating vesicles. At yung vesicles mo, yan na yung nagde-deliver ng mga products mo. Remember, we said if there are products of the cell that needs to be packaged, ilalagay siya ngayon sa structures mo, which are called vesicles. So, pag ang product ay kailangan sa labas ng cell, your vesicles would take it outside of the cell. Kung meron ding produkto na galing from other cells in your body na kailangan sa cell na ito, your vesicles would also get inside the cell, and of course, it will deliver the different packages of the cell into the cell. Okay, so yan yung purpose ng inyong vesicle. Now, yung inyong answer a while ago was your lysosome. Ito yung lysosome mo, no? Your lysosomes are actually one type of your vesicle. It is one type of vesicle. Meron siyang package inside, but the package that it has are enzymes, okay, digestive enzymes. So sometimes your lysosomes are also called the suicide bags of the cell. Okay, if there is any part of the cell that is no longer used, if there is any part of the cell that is destroyed, for example, that is not working properly, your lysosome is just going to dissolve that. Okay, your lysosome is just going to digest that. Okay, hence the lysosome is called the suicide bags of the cell. It contains digestive enzymes that can easily just digest those parts of the cell. Okay, it is a special type of your vesicle. Now, another thing that you have here, this is your mitochondria. This is called the powerhouse of the cell because that is where ATP, adenosine triphosphate, the currency, no, the energy in the cell is formed. And the process, of course, is known as cellular respiration. Okay, so that here is your mitochondria, the powerhouse of the cell. This one is your centriole. Yung centriole mo naman, this would aid during cell division. Ginagamit siya during cell division. I will be explaining that as we go to cell division questions later. Okay, so those are the tiny structures inside the cell membrane. You have your nucleus, your nucleolus, ribosomes. Then you have your rough ER, the smooth ER. You have the Golgi body, your vesicles, lysosomes. You also have your mitochondria and the centrioles. Okay, and of course, this is your cytoplasm. Okay, but we were looking for lysosomes. Yung question natin, contains enzymes that help digest food and cell debris. Lysosome is our answer. Okay, we move on. Which of these structures helps plant cells maintain their rectangular shape? Is it letter A, chloroplast, letter B, cell wall, letter C, cell membrane, or letter D, nucleus? What's the answer for number 23? 23 na po tayo, number 23. Time check, 8:47. Which one do you think is the answer for number 23? Hindi pa tayo nangangalahati, ah. Okay, number 23. Which of these structures helps plant cells maintain rectangular shape? Okay, the correct choice here is letter B, cell wall. Tama yung cell wall, okay? So cell wall po ang ating tamang choice. These are the differences between your animal cell and your plant cell. Both of them would have cytoplasm. Both of them would have nucleus because both of them are eukaryotes. Both of them would have cell membrane. Both of them would also have mitochondria. Yung difference lang, those structures that you can only find in your plant cells would be unang-una, cellulose cell wall. That was what we were looking for a while ago. Chloroplast, that is where photosynthesis would happen in your plant cell. And permanent vacuole, or sometimes we call this central vacuole. Mas malaki yung vacuole ng inyong plant cell kaysa sa animal cell. Animal cells would sometimes also have vacuoles, no? Pero mas maliit because the function of your central vacuole in your plant cell is to contain water, okay, to store water. So it's bigger. Cellulose cell wall, central vacuole, chloroplast. These are the structures that can be found in your plant cells but are not found in your animal cells. Okay, we go to the next slide. What is it called when a substance needs the help of a transport protein to move from an area of higher concentration to an area of lower concentration? Is it letter A, simple diffusion, letter B, sodium-potassium pump, letter C, osmosis, or letter D, facilitated diffusion? Which one is the correct choice for number 24? Parang wala nang sumasagot. Namatay na lahat ng neurons nyo. It's 8:49. 8:49. People, 8:49. We are still at number 24. Medyo ang tawag dyan? Mahaba yung discussion sa science. Samut-sari. Ang inyong sagot. May B, may D, may C. Patay na po mga brain cells. Okay, number 24. What is it called when a substance needs the help of a transport protein? Ito yung pinaka-hint nyo dyan, no? May help ng transport protein to move from an area of higher concentration to an area of lower concentration. This is letter D, facilitated diffusion. Okay, facilitated diffusion po ang ating hinahanap. Let's take a look at your cell, your transport system, no, in the cell. Now, there are two major types of cellular transport inside the cell, no? Passive and active. Yung pinaka-difference nila, yung passive transport mo, wala siyang gamit na energy. Hindi siya gumagamit ng ATP. And ang movement would be through your or down the concentration gradient. Pag sinabi mong down the concentration gradient, from an area of higher concentration to an area of lower concentration. Essentially, pag sinabi mong concentration gradient, difference in the amount of substance lamang hinahanap natin dito. So, down the concentration gradient, that means from an area of higher concentration, kung saan maraming amount, to an area of lower amount. Now, you have several types for this. The first one would be simple diffusion, the movement of substances from an area of higher concentration to lower concentration without assistance. This cannot be your answer a while ago dahil wala siyang gamit, no? Wala siyang transport proteins, walang assistance. That's your simple diffusion. Pag may umutot, simple diffusion po yan. Pag may nag-spray ng perfume, that's simple diffusion. Pag may dumaan na truck ng basura, that's simple diffusion. Okay? Diffusion, the movement of materials from an area of higher concentration to an area of lower concentration. No? So, kung saan sa parte ng room, kung saan maraming concentration ng air na may utot, na may amoy, papunta sa area mo kung saan less yung amount ng air molecules na yon. So from that area, going to your area, no, from area of higher concentration to area of lower concentration, walang assistance, yung sarili lamang niya yung nag-travel yung air particles with utot, that would be simple diffusion. Okay, that's simple diffusion. Now, your facilitated diffusion, ito yung hinahanap natin, the movement of substances still from areas of higher concentration to lower concentration, pero may assistance, may gamit na ng transport proteins. Kaya ito yung ating choice kanina dahil may help ng inyong transport proteins. Now, osmosis mo naman is a special type of passive transport that involves movement of water across a cell membrane, across a semi-permeable membrane. Pag may water sa inyong question, that would be osmosis. Okay? Pag tubig yung nasa question nyo, the movement of water across semi-permeable membrane, your answer would be osmosis. Osmosis po yan. Diyan po natin nakikita yung hypertonic, isotonic, and hypotonic solution. If you can remember, sa hypertonic solution, the cell would shrink. Mag-shrink yung inyong cell. In a hypotonic solution, the cell would swell. Okay, so swell, lalaki siya. In an isotonic solution, there is no change. Okay, no net movement. May movement, pero hindi masyado yung change dahil equal lamang yung amount ng solutes inside and outside of the cell. So that's osmosis. Now, the second type of transport in the cell is called your active transport. Here, energy is required, no? So, gumagamit siya ng energy, and so it is called active transport. It uses energy in the form of ATP, and the movement of substances is against a concentration gradient. That means hindi siya from an area of higher concentration to a lower concentration. It is the opposite. Galing siya sa area of lower concentration to an area of higher concentration. Hence, it needs energy for it to happen. One example for this would be your sodium-potassium pump, active transport of sodium and potassium ions across a nerve cell membrane. Okay, so we were looking for your facilitated diffusion in our question dahil sabi kanina would be there is no use of energy, but it uses assistance from your transport proteins. Okay. We move on. Number 25, we're halfway. All of the following occur during interphase except letter A, S phase, letter B, chromosome replication, letter C, cell division, or letter D, cell growth. What's the answer? Oh, tulog na yung brain cells nyo. Okay, laban lang. Kaya yan. Go lang ng go. Pag natutulog na yung brain cells, gisingin. Go lang po. Go. Okay, letter D, cell growth. Letter C, my D. Correct choice here. Ang hinahanap natin ay exception. No? All of the following occur during the interphase except the correct choice is cell division. Okay, sa interphase mo, may S phase, may chromosome replication, may cell growth. What is one thing that does not happen during the interphase is cell division. So wala lang division, no? Walang division. Okay, so cell division is the correct choice for number 25. So this right here is your cell cycle. Makinig. Napikit-pikit na ang mga mata. Happy birthday, Sir Nak Lumugdang the second. Okay, so this right here are the different parts of your cell cycle. Okay, so unang-una meron ka munang interface. Ito yung interface mo, G1, S, G2. These are part of your interface. Okay, so G1, cell growth. S phase mo, where DNA is copied, DNA is replicated, that's also part of your interface. Then you have G2. So yung hindi lang nangyayari sa interface mo would be cell division. Now, after your interface, you have the M phase. Yung M phase mo can be mitosis or meiosis. And then after this, of course, you have your cytokinesis or cytoplasmic division. Okay, cytoplasmic division. And so the correct choice here would be, for number 25, is cell division. The only thing that does not happen during the interphase is cell division. Cell division lamang po yung hindi nangyayari sa inyong interphase. The following steps in the cell cycle into the order in which they occur. Is it number 1? Okay, so we have number 1, G1, number 2, G2, number 3, S phase, number 4, M phase. And then you have the different choices at the bottom. Letter A, 1, 2, 4, 3. Letter B, 1, 3, 2, 4. Letter C, 4, 1, 2, 3. Or letter D, 2, 3, 1, 4. Which one is the correct choice for number 26? Number 26, what is the correct sequence? Ano po yung correct sequence natin for number 26? Please put that in our chat box. Okay, si Ma'am Jonaline, sabi letter B. B. Okay, B. Karamihang sagot nyo ay letter B. Some more answers? Okay, now going back to the question that we have here, place the following steps in the cell cycle into the order in which they occur. 1, G1, 2, G2, 3, S phase, and 4, M phase. And the correct choice here would be letter B. Tama yung letter B, no? Because G1, G2, and S phase are all part of your interphase. Okay, so parte ito ng ating interphase. Now remember, in your cell cycle, you start with your interphase, then you have your M phase, which can be mitosis or meiosis. Then, of course, you'll have your C phase, which is cytokinesis. Okay? So, out of your 3 stages in your interphase, nauuna yung G1 or gap 1, and then it is followed by S phase, where the DNA is duplicated, the chromosomes are duplicated, or the DNA is duplicated. And of course, you have G2, which is gap 2 prior to M phase. So that would be 1, 3, 2, then of course it is going to be followed by the M phase. Okay? Kaya tama itong ating letter B. 1, 3, 2, and 4. Okay? So letter B, ang ating choice for number 26. We move on with number 27. In which stage of mitosis do the chromosomes line up along the middle of the cell? Anaphase, interphase, metaphase, telophase. Palagi pong lumalabas sa let ang inyong mitosis. Hindi nawawala yung mitosis sa inyong let. Kaya make sure that you know what mitosis is and you know what's happening in each stage of mitosis. Okay, which one is the correct choice for number 27? 27C, C, ICCs for number 27. Okay, number 27C, karamihang choice, and that is correct. Okay, so C, metaphase, is the correct choice for number 27. The question is, in which stage of mitosis do the chromosomes line up along the middle of the cell? And the correct choice is letter C, metaphase. Let's take a look at your slide. Okay, so these right here are the different stages of mitosis. Again, you can memorize this by using the acronym PMAT. Okay, so PMAT, prophase, metaphase, anaphase, telophase. Now, for the different events that are happening for each stage, you can also use an acronym for this. Acronym natin ay CASO. Okay, so PMAT CASO. That means in prophase, the most important event that's happening would be the condensation of your chromosomes. So, nagko-condense itong inyong chromosomes. Okay, so that's CASO. Again, CASO, yung ating acronym for the different stages that happens in each, or the different events that happen in each of your stages here. Okay, so prophase again, that's a condensation of the chromosomes. Metaphase is alignment of the chromosomes. Kaya siya yung ating sagot dito, no? So line up, okay? In which stage do the chromosomes line up? Because metaphase is alignment of the chromosomes. In your acronym CASO, no? CASO, condensation, alignment. During anaphase, that would be the separation of chromosomes. So separation of chromosomes ito. And of course, for telophase, that would be letter O. It is the opposite of your prophase. Okay, so again, PMAT, CASO, PMAT, CASO. Prophase, metaphase, anaphase, telophase. CASO is condensation of your chromosomes, alignment of the chromosomes, separation of the sister chromatids, and of course, it is the opposite of prophase. Okay. Now remember, your M phase is just one type, or mitosis is just one type of your M phase in your cell cycle. Po pwedeng mitosis, po pwede din namang meiosis, no? They have differences. Ang mitosis mo would happen in body cells, or what we call somatic cells. Okay, so your somatic cells, body cells would undergo mitosis. Meiosis, on the other hand, would be for your sex cells. Okay, so sex cells lamang po yung nagmameiosis. So if there is going to be a question in the left, kung anong types ng cells ang nag-undergo ng meiosis, your answer would be sex cells only, egg cells, sperm cells, okay? Your sex gametes, not your body cells or not your somatic cells. Now, another difference is in their function. Your mitosis is for growth, for repair, no? For growth, repair, that would be mitosis. Your meiosis, on the other hand, is for variation. Okay, and of course, it's for reproduction, for making of your sex cells. That's your meiosis. Another difference would be, in mitosis, there's only one round of cell division. So pagkatapos ng PMAT, tapos na po yung meiosis, your mitosis. Meiosis, on the other hand, would have 2 rounds of division. Okay, so meron ka meiosis 1, meron ka ding meiosis 2. Now, we've talked about this in our previous Gen Ed, sa Gen Ed na live streams natin. Merong mitosis, meiosis na discuss na natin ito. Okay, so another thing would be, the products of your mitosis would be 2 daughter cells that are both diploid. Okay, both diploid 2 daughter cells. That means they both have the equal set of chromosomes as what the parents had. Okay, so if this is a human, meron po tayong 46 chromosomes in our cells. And so if it is a cell that is produced through mitosis, there should be 46 chromosomes inside that cell. Okay, so mitosis can produce 2 daughter cells that are both diploid. In meiosis, on the other hand, it can produce 4 daughter cells that are just haploid. Okay, so half lamang yung kanilang chromosomes, because of course those are sex cells. Okay, so if you have an egg cell with 23 chromosomes and another sex cell, no, your sperm cell with also 23 chromosomes, when they merge, when they combine during fertilization to form your zygote, your baby, 23 plus 23 is going to give you 46 chromosomes for a human. Okay, so mitosis, 2 diploid daughter cells, meiosis, 4 haploid daughter cells. Okay, I hope Klaro na yung mitosis, meiosis sa inyo. We move on with our, okay, so these are the different stages, no? Sineparate ko pa pala. Prophase, condensation of chromosomes. Again, metaphase is the alignment of your chromosomes in the middle of the cell. Ito yung centrioles natin. If you can remember, we talked about your centrioles as part of your organelles yesterday, and we said it helps us during cell division. And siya kasi yung nagiging source ng spindle fibers. Itong thread-like structure where your chromosomes would get attached during cell division. Okay, now this is your anaphase, the splitting of your chromosomes. Then, of course, you have telophase. This is the opposite of your prophase. The chromosomes reach the opposite poles of the cell and the nucleus forms around the chromosomes. Okay, so kabaliktaran siya ng inyong prophase. We go to number 28. Energy is released from ATP when the bond is broken between letter A, adenine and ribose, letter B, ribose and a phosphate group, letter C, ribose and deoxyribose, letter D, two phosphate groups. Which one is the correct choice for number 28? Please put that in our chat box. 28, ano po ang inyong choice? Number 28. Okay, letter B. I see letter B's in our chat box. Okay, mukhang marami na namang ligwak. Wala yata yung mga thunders natin ngayon. Nakalimutan nilang may live tayo, hindi natapos kagabi. Sir Raymond, marami daw wild guess. Okay, so going back to number 28 here, energy is released from ATP when the bond is broken between, you remember your ATP is adenosine triphosphate, okay? Adenosine triphosphate po siya. It is the energy currency of the cell, no? Ito yung pinuproduce inside your mitochondria. Ito yung energy na ginagamit natin sa cell. Now, energy is released when the bond is broken between, the correct choice here would be letter D. Okay, letter D po. Two phosphate groups, between two phosphate groups. Yung energy niya would be found in its phosphate groups. Nandiyan po sa phosphate groups. Let's take a look at your slides. This is in the process of cellular respiration, the process of converting organic compounds into ATP. Primarily, your organic compounds here would be your glucose. Okay, yung glucose, yung sugar, is converted into ATP. So food here is converted into ATP or adenosine triphosphate. That's the energy currency of the cell. Okay, that's adenosine triphosphate. Adenosine siya with three phosphate groups. Now, your energy is concentrated in your phosphate groups. Nandito yung energy sa phosphate groups. And so your adenosine triphosphate is like a battery. Pag puno siya, pag puno yung battery mo, for example, yung battery ng cell mo, pag punong-puno siya, you'd call it adenosine triphosphate. That means kompleto yung phosphate groups niya. Now, when your body uses up your ATP, na nababawasan no, yung energy ng sa inyong ATP, nababawasan siya dahil nagagamit yung phosphate group, for example. Okay, so your energy is here, your energy is concentrated in the phosphate groups of your ATP. Okay, kaya yung sa ating question, energy is released from ATP when the bond is broken between two phosphate groups. Okay, sa phosphate groups po, concentrated yung energy sa ATP. So our answer is letter D. We move on. 29. Which of the following statements is true? Cytosine forms hydrogen bonds with adenine. Adenine forms hydrogen bonds with thymine. Cytosine forms carbon bonds with guanine. Or letter D, adenine forms carbon bonds with thymine. Okay, which one is the correct choice for 29? Ayun, nanawagan na sila sa kanilang mga kaklase. Maraming wala. Nakalimutan nilang meron tayong live tonight. Okay, what's your choice for 29? Number 29. Okay, I see B's and A. Okay, please put your comment. Please put your answer in our chat box. 29B. B. Okay, some more answers. So may A, B, C. Ba't hindi ka makasagot, Ma'am Rowena? All right, so number 29 here, we are looking for the true statement. Okay, we're looking for the true statement. Which one is true? And the correct choice here would be letter B. Letter B po yung tama dito, no? Adenine forms hydrogen bonds with thymine. Okay, so letter B, adenine forms hydrogen bonds with thymine. Let's take a look at your slide. Now, this is part of your DNA. Pati po siya ng inyong DNA, we have what we call complementary base pairing. Your cytosine would always form 3 hydrogen bonds with guanine, and adenine would always form 2 hydrogen bonds with thymine. Okay, so in your complementary base pairing rule in your DNA, A would always be formed, would always be forming bonds with thymine. So AT with 2 hydrogen bonds between them, and CG with 3 hydrogen bonds between them. Okay, so AT with 2 hydrogen bonds, and CG with 3 hydrogen bonds. Okay? So again, ito po yung nitrogen bases ng inyong DNA, no? So yung C mo, cytosine would always be forming bonds with guanine, 3 hydrogen bonds, and adenine would always be forming 2 hydrogen bonds with thymine. Kaya tandaan lamang AT, that's adenine, thymine, 2 hydrogen bonds, and CG, cytosine, guanine, with 3 hydrogen bonds between them. Okay? Kaya yung ating choice is letter B. Adenine forms hydrogen bonds with thymine. Cytosine would be paired with guanine. Okay? So hindi po adenine. Cytosine, AT, and C, it should be guanine here. Now, C and D are both wrong because it says carbon bonds. Hindi po carbon bonds, pero hydrogen bonds yung kanilang na-form. Okay? So letter B, ang ating choice for number 29. Okay? So this right here is an illustration. Thymine would always be paired with adenine, and of course, there would be 2 hydrogen bonds between them. Your guanine would always be paired with cytosine, and vice versa, with 3 hydrogen bonds between them. You did this in your high school, no? High school biology, ginawa nyo to. Partner nyo yung adenine with thymine, thymine with adenine, guanine with cytosine, and so on. Okay? We go to number 30. Which of the following is the correct equation for photosynthesis? Okay, you have the different equations there. Medyo naputo lang because of its structure. This right here, letter A, 6 molecules of carbon dioxide plus 1 molecule of water, giving you 1 molecule of glucose plus 1 molecule of oxygen gas. Letter B, 6 molecules of carbon dioxide with 6 molecules of water, giving us 1 molecule of glucose plus 6 molecules of oxygen gas. Letter C, 6 molecules of carbon dioxide plus 1 molecule of oxygen gas, giving you 1 molecule of glucose plus 1 molecule of water. Letter D, 6 oxygen gas, 6 carbon dioxide, giving us 1 glucose and 6 water. Okay, which one is the correct choice for number 30? Number 30. Okay, B and C. Karamihang choice nyo ay B and C. May A din. Meron din namang D. All right, now going back to your question, hinahanap natin correct equation for photosynthesis. Remember, photosynthesis, ano yung kailangan para mangyari yung photosynthesis? You have carbon dioxide and water, okay? Diba kailangan natin carbon dioxide and water, and we are going to produce glucose and oxygen gas, okay? So carbon dioxide and water giving us glucose and oxygen gas. So yung letter C mo dito at ang letter D ay mali. Okay? Dahil sabi ng letter D mo, ang kailangan mo ay carbon dioxide and oxygen gas. Hindi po pwede. Kasi yung oxygen gas ay isa sa ating mga products, and so oxygen gas should be at the other side of your equation. Dapat yung partner ng carbon dioxide mo dyan ay water. Okay? So X itong letter C. X din itong letter D. Parehas lamang po sila. Now, we are only left with A and B. Yung A and B mo, parehas yung kanyang reactant. So may carbon dioxide and water, may glucose at oxygen. Okay, carbon dioxide and water, may glucose and oxygen. Pero yung tamang choice dito ay letter B kasi yung letter B mo ang balanced. Okay, this is the balanced chemical equation. You remember how you balance your chemical equation? Kahapon meron tayong example niyan. Dapat kung anong number of carbon atoms mo in this side of your reaction, ganun din yung number of atoms mo sa product side. Okay, so if you are looking at your carbon, this is 6 times 1. Okay, 6 times 1. There should be a subscript of 1. No? Pag walang subscript, that is understood to be just one atom. So 6 times 1, that would give you 6 for carbon. For your product side, you also have 1 times 6. So 6 din yung carbon mo. For your oxygen, this is 6 times 2. Okay, 6 times 2 giving you 12. Plus, there's another 6 times 1 here for oxygen. Okay, so that's 12 plus 6 giving you 18 molecules or 18 atoms of oxygen. Okay, so 12, that's 6 times 2 plus 6 times 1, which is 6. Okay, so 12 plus 6, that's 18. Now, on this other side, you have for oxygen, tinitingnan po natin oxygen muna. This is 1, since walang number. We assume that that's 1 times 6. So that's 6 plus 6 times 2 oxygen atoms. Okay, so 6 times 2 is 12 plus 6, 18 oxygen atoms din meron ka. So it is balanced in terms of carbon. It is balanced in terms of oxygen. The last atom that you have here, the last element, is hydrogen. Okay, so the hydrogen in this side of your reactant side is 6 times 2, giving you 12. On this side, you also have 1 times 12. So that's also 12. Okay, so balance yung chemical equation natin for letter B. So 6 molecules of carbon dioxide plus 6 molecules of water, giving you 1 molecule of glucose or sugar plus 6 molecules of oxygen gas. Okay, yan po yung balanced chemical equation ng photosynthesis. Let's go to your next slide here. Okay, so this right here, inulit lang, no? 6 carbon dioxide molecules plus 6 water molecules, giving us 1 molecule of sugar and 6 molecules of oxygen. So tandaan na may 6 dito at may 16 dito, 1 molecule of sugar, carbon dioxide and water are the reactants, and the products would be sugar and oxygen. If there is a question about what is the main product of photosynthesis, your answer would be sugar, not oxygen. Okay, remember, oxygen is just a byproduct. It is a waste product. It is given back to the atmosphere. No? Ito naman yung ginagamit natin for our respiration. Okay, so sugar po, glucose, this is the main product